Rinka and the Rottweiler by Stephen Lake. Mike, a powerful and successful businessman, traveled to a city in Maryland to visit the headquarters for one of his numerous corporations with the intention of staying there for a period of at least several weeks. While there, he chose to dwell in one of the estates his company owned there, a dwelling that had been purchased with the explicit purpose of lodging visitors, dignitaries, and any other individuals who didn't want to either stay in rental housing or a hotel while visiting his companies. However, despite it being located in a very high-quality, upscale neighborhood, with white picket fences, expertly groomed lawns, and beautiful shrubbery, it could not escape the ever-present and absurdly annoying case of bad neighbors. These neighbors, who are commonly known as Karens, are a plague that is hated by all and exist everywhere in the world, in every location, no matter how high or low quality the neighborhood might be. And that was exactly the situation that Mike found himself in upon arriving at the corporate estate. For the entirety of the first 2 weeks he was there, he did his level best to be unseen by anyone and everyone to ensure that he could rest and relax as much as possible, even though he was in town for business. However, the local neighborhood Karen had entirely different plans for him. Marching himself up and down the street, day after day, during the first several weeks Mike was in town, he constantly watched the house, with hawk-like diligence, for any signs of an opportunity to meet with the intrepid and successful businessman. However, he wasn't doing this because he had an issue with Mike or his business or anything like that. Instead, this neighbor, the previously mentioned Karen, was deeply interested in Mike's pet, Rinka. Apparently, the fame of her had spread far and wide throughout the community, despite nobody ever seeing her. Even so, they all knew of her, and the fact that she traveled with him everywhere, from city to city, town to town, and had become quite the star herself, even though nobody had actually seen her. They only knew of her reportedly fearsome appearance and reputation. And it was that reputation that Mike's neighbor wanted to test. One day, towards the end of Mike's stay, his neighbor spotted him as he stood by the front gate of his house and looked out over the beautiful and well-manicured properties that surrounded him. Finally seeing his chance, he quickly grabbed his pet Rottweiler and hurried over to Mike's house. Seeing him approach, Mike studied the man quietly, sizing him up in great detail as the man walked in his direction with an expression which told Mike that he was on a mission and nothing was going to stop him. Mike watched this through narrow, cautious eyes as he quickly surmised that this gentleman and his dog intended to speak with him no matter what. The reasons for that, however, he wasn't certain of. He then watched as the neighbor stopped in front of him on the sidewalk wearing a smug, arrogant grin on his face. "Greetings, neighbor. Are you the fabled Mr. Clayton?" asked the man. Mike, with a poker face that was among the best in the world, studied him briefly before slowly nodding. "I am. How can I help you?" he asked cautiously. "Well, I'm your neighbor from 4 doors down, and I have heard a lot about you. But most specifically your pet cat, the one you call Rinka. I've heard that she is here with you today, and I would like to meet her, as I have heard many great and questionable rumors about her," said the man. Mike studied him for several moments before shaking his head. "You're here for more than that, aren't you?" he eventually asked. The man grinned slyly. "Huh, you're just as observant as I've heard you are, Mr. Clayton." "Yes, you would be correct. I am indeed here for more than just that. From what I've been told, Rinka is more than just a mere cat. Rumor has it that she possesses incredible power, presence, and reputation unlike any other. I, however, do not believe this, so I would like to see it for myself." Mike furrowed a brow at this. "In what way?" he asked. The man grinned devilishly. "I would like my dog to face your cat and prove whether the rumors of her imposing presence are indeed true, or merely the wild imaginations of her owner and those with whom she has had dealings with in the past," he replied. Mike's eyebrow went up further. "So, basically you wish to put your terrifying and vicious dog against my powerful and ruthless cat," he said, a hint of light mockery in his voice. The man looked at Mike with indignation. "I wouldn't put it so crassly, but yes, if that is how we shall go about this, then let it be so." Mike's other eyebrow went up at this. "Well, as you wish," he replied with bemused incredulity. He then turned his face towards the house and shouted, "Rinka!" A deep, throaty meow echoed from within the house a moment later. This caused the neighbor's dog to become excited as it postured itself as though ready to tear apart even the most fearsome, powerful house cat in the world. "Rinka, come here, please," continued Mike. Another deep, throaty meow answered this call. Upon hearing this, the Rottweiler became even more excited for what it felt would soon be the most epic, one-sided battle of cat versus dog that the world had ever seen. It wasn't long after this that the front door of the house opened, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps as Rinka made her way across the porch, down the steps, and onto the cement driveway. Nothing else was heard after this, causing the Rottweiler to grow confused and anxious, uncertain of what was happening now. Mike soon turned his attention towards Rinka and motioned for her to continue his way. Upon seeing this, the dog became even more excited as it anticipated an easy and almost effortless victory against the mystery feline. However, what happened next was not what either the dog nor its owner expected. To their complete and total surprise, a massive, muscular Siberian tiger appeared around the brownstone post of the driveway gate and strolled up to Mike with a casual saunter that showed her total confidence and lack of concern for any danger that might be waiting for her on the other side. Upon seeing this, the neighbor's Rottweiler, who had been, only moments earlier, unswervingly confident in its superiority in this contest of wills, turned and ran down the street, away from Mike and Rinka, at speeds that seemed impossible for an animal of its size and build. The neighbor, however, merely froze where he stood, unable to turn, run, or even breathe for that matter, as he stared in disbelief at the powerful, commanding presence of Rinka as she stared mutely at him before looking past the man towards the rapidly fleeing Rottweiler. Confused at this, but not really caring much for the events unfolding around her, she sat down next to Mike before turning her head to look at him, as if to ask, "Did I miss something?" Mike, in turn, stood by and grinned at the man in the most sly, darkly satisfying way possible. "So, have I fully assuaged your curiosity?" he asked deviously. He then watched as the man thoroughly wet himself as he stood there trying to determine what to do next. After several moments, like a stiff, wooden wind-up toy, he slowly turned himself around and then marched down the street to his house, where he promptly locked himself inside, and then set about cleaning up his soiled clothing, while also doing his best not to have a heart attack from the pure shock of the event. Seeing that all was now settled, Mike looked down at Rinka and grinned. "Well, now that that's settled, do you want to go back inside?" he asked. "Mayor Rowe," growled Rinka happily. The two then turned and quietly made their way back into the house. And, from that day forward, nobody in either Mike's neighborhood, nor the city, ever questioned the rumors of Rinka's true identity again, or the many seemingly wild and farcical tales they had heard about her from friends, family, neighbors, and co-workers alike. The end.